just wanted to share something with you today about why grief feels so dark. When my husband died, I couldn't sit still, and so I was constantly, whenever I wasn't working or whatever, driving down the highway. I would just go south on the highway and watch the sun go down. And I liked doing that because my husband and I used to take long drives together and watch the sun go down. So I would just watch it and watch it and watch it, and I finally had to turn around and head back home, but I didn't want to because I wanted to just watch the sun until it went completely down. And I used to stop at a certain gas station on the highway and sit there and just watch that sun until it was gone. But the most brutal thing was to turn around and go home in the dark. I absolutely dreaded that. Well, one day, I had done that so often, but one day, as I was doing that and driving and just thinking about my husband and looking at the sunset, I felt the Lord speak something to me. He said that I was chasing the sunset. The way I was chasing the sunset was like chasing I don't know how to say this exactly. It was representative of how I was chasing after my husband's life and how I didn't want it to set. I didn't want it to end. And so I just kept chasing the sunset as I don't know if that's explaining it very well, but I was just holding on to the very last part and bit of that sun before it went down. And it was like I was holding on to my husband, and just chasing the sunset was like chasing my husband and what we used to have together. I didn't want it to end. I was so traumatized about it ending, I couldn't accept it. So after he said that to me, he then somehow communicated to me that if I would be willing to turn around and drive or walk into the darkness, if I was willing to walk through the darkness, he said there would be a new sunrise on the other side of that darkness. And that helped me to see what was possible if I was willing to walk through the darkness. And he says, he will never leave me nor forsake me. And he is kind and close to the brokenhearted, and he walks us through the valley of the shadow of death. He walks us. He walks with us. If we're not walking, he'll stand there and wait and minister to us in any way that he can. He's not picky. He just wants to minister to us in any way that we'll let him. So I decided I would be willing. I would be willing, to walk through the darkness, even though I couldn't stand to even turn around and face it, let alone walk through it. I told him, okay, I will turn around and be willing to walk through the darkness of this grief for my husband. If there truly is a sunrise on the other side. I don't know how long it would take. I didn't know how painful it would be. But I wanted that sunrise. I wanted the sunset more than anything. but I couldn't hold it in my hand. I couldn't keep it. But if I was willing to walk through the darkness, I knew that the new sun would come up in my life, and it would last for a very, very long time. And maybe I could even be happy again someday. So I turned around and as I drove the hour, an hour and a half home in the darkness, I gave that to the Lord and said, okay, I will do this. I will walk through the darkness with you with me, walking me through it. And that began a long journey of the Lord ministering to me in such special ways, personal ways, unique ways that I'd never heard of in my life, because I had no familiarity whatsoever with grief. And so that was all new to me, how the Lord ministers to us when we're going through the darkness of grief, when we're walking through the valley of the shadow of death. He is closer than a brother. He's right there to comfort and to speak to our hearts and guide us and help us and strengthen us if we're only willing. I just wanted to stop the pain so bad that even though I didn't want to stop chasing the sunset of what was, I was willing to walk into the darkness of what will be, because I just wanted to get through the pain as fast as possible and live a new life that God has planned for me. He took someone away from me that was the most patient, kind, loving man I've ever known in my life. He put up with so much from me, and I couldn't live without him. But Jesus told me I could learn to live with him instead of my husband. I could learn to live with, but I couldn't live without my husband. I can live with Jesus instead. And that was just several years of going through that, and then the sun did come up in my life. And it's not like the past was obliterated or wiped away, but it sort of merged and all became a part of my life. The pain and the sorrow and the darkness and the new day that's here today as I make this video for you to share the hope that you can walk through the valley of the shadow of death with Jesus at your side and come out on the other side of that valley into a new day, a new part of your life that has meaning and value. Just wanted to share that with you tonight. Oh, love you much. Receive his touch. And remember, you are loved.